Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say? This is Bill Press here. We'll be back to today's broadcast with all of our great guests in just a moment here. But first, just a word about Free Speech TV. You know, I started my nationally syndicated radio show in 2005, almost 8 years ago now. And I've also done, think about it, this is my fifth national television show on CNN. I was co-host of Crossfire. I was co-host of The Spin Room. On MSNBC, I was co-host of Buchanan and Press for several years. On Current TV, did a show called Full Court Press, and now the Bill Press Show on Free Speech TV. And I've got to tell you, in all that time, with all those different networks, all those different shows, I never felt as at home and as comfortable and as good about what I'm doing as I do right now on Free Speech TV. I'm so glad to be part of this great network that brings you people like Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Pakman. So proud to join that lineup. But, you know, and this is the kind of media, the reason I feel so comfortable, because totally independent, totally free to talk about whatever we want to talk about. You get to get involved in the conversation. And that's the kind of broadcasting you'll find nowhere else. It's truly independent, truly transparent, truly truthful, speaking truth to power every day. And that's what we need in this country. But, of course, without any corporate money, without any political ads, without any government money, free speech depends on you to keep us going and to keep this great lineup coming to you every day. So we ask you, if you're already a supporter of free speech, to renew your sponsorship. If you're new to free speech like I am, then join us any way you can. Go to 877-378-8669 and send us whatever support you can. Be as generous as you can. Or you can go to freespeech.org as a little incentive for joining us. Here are a couple of things to consider. If you can give $120 a year, that's just $10 a month, you'll get a signed copy of my book, Toxic Talk, all about right-wing talk radio, who they are, how bad they are, and what the left has to do to get back into talk radio. For $240 a year, that's $20 a month, get a copy of Toxic Talk and a copy of my favorite book that I wrote, How the Republicans Stole Religion. They think they have a monopoly on God, and they don't, because God was a liberal, we know that. And if you can do $360 a year, that's $30 a month. These two books, plus a copy of my latest book, The Obama Hate Machine, all about the Koch brothers and the billions of dollars that they spend to try to defeat anything that Barack Obama stands for. So we need your help. We ask for your help because we want to continue this great broadcasting again. You can join us by phone at 877-378-8669 and send your pledge, or go on freespeech.org. Be as generous as you can. We'll keep coming to you every day, and thank you.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach
likes
your
you.
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
It's a Texas-style filibuster, and it's still going on, except it's not a filibuster. Ted Cruz can't even get that right. Hey, good morning, everybody. How about it? Wednesday, September 25. Here we go on The Bill Press Show. Wow. Lots going on here. What an exciting day. Good to have you with us. Lots you're going to want to talk about today here as we come to you live from our nation's capital. All across this great land of ours, wherever you happen to be, we are there with you. First of all, on your radio, on your local progressive talk radio station. We start the day with the news of the day, and thank you for joining us and supporting your local progressive talk radio station. You can also catch us, this radio show, on television on Free Speech TV. How about it? We're the new members of the team on Free Speech TV. With your satellite dish, you can pick us up, of course, on DirecTV or on the Dish Network. And if you prefer to look at that little screen called your computer, your iPad, or whatever, you can find us on TawkrTV, a whole new operation here. We are the morning lineup on TawkrTV at youtube.com/TawkrTV. Spell it right, TawkrTV. No matter whether you're listening or watching, we're glad to have you with us today. And don't forget, give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Or you can send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and join us on Facebook. Send us your comments on Facebook, as all of our friends do, at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. So lots going on here this morning. What do you say? The team assembled, led by Peter Ogburn. Peter?
Hey.
Dan Henning, parts unknown, still got the week off. How dare him take a week off?
Right.
I mean, the Congress is working so hard. Why can't Dan
That's
work
right.
hard, right?
That's right. Especially on to miss this historic speech by Ted Cruz.
Oh, yes. Although he's wherever he is, I'm sure he's watching. And that's why we have circles under our eyes this morning, because we've been up all night watching. I didn't want to miss a word.
Everything he says is important.
I must
when
say,
he's been going for 14 hours, 15 hours.
I went out. I was at a dinner last night, and there were 3 members of the Senate there, whom I had a chance to talk to: Jack Reed from Rhode Island, and Sheldon Whitehouse from Rhode Island, and Dick Durbin from Illinois. And I chastised all 3 of them for being at this dinner in downtown Washington instead of being on the floor of the
Shameful.
Senate. Yeah, they said it was a great sacrifice that they said. Alicia Cruz has the phones covered. Hi, Alicia, and Cyprian Bolding, keeping us looking as good as we possibly can here on Free Speech TV and on TawkrTV, our videographer. So, yes, yesterday, great contrast we're going to talk about here. Up in New York, the meeting of the United Nations and a meeting of the Clinton Global Initiative, which President Clinton always schedules around the time of the UN. So you have all the world leaders in town. President Obama joined President Clinton yesterday, but so did, and that got most of the attention, so did Bono. Bono talked about the first time that he went to the White House to meet Bill Clinton with a pretty good impression of 42.
When I first met Bono, he walked into the Oval Office, and I thought he was a member of his own road crew. He wasn't really dressed right. Actually, I felt like the rock star on that occasion. But together, we did this drop the debt thing, and my God, there's 51 million children going to school in Africa because of the drop the debt thing. That's pretty good. Isn't that right?
Is that right? That's really good.
Yeah.
Considering he's Irish,
Yeah. No, exactly. No, he's got it down. Yeah, lots coming up here. So, Sister Simone Campbell, head of Nuns on the Bus, will be here in studio with us. Norm Ornstein, who is the best of all the congressional watchers from the American Enterprise Institute, will be here in studio with us as well. We're reporters from Buzzfeed and Politico coming up, and the communications director of Emily's List. Such a great lineup for you this morning. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Yes, indeed. Here is a look at a couple of other things making news. Bill, are you ready for Satisfries? In an effort to cater to the healthy fast food eater, Burger King launched a new product yesterday. They are called Satisfries, and they contain 30% less fat and 20% less calories than their standard French fries.
They can't taste as good.
I will tell you right now, I actually had some yesterday.
Burger King? You went to a Burger King?
I went to a Burger King just to try the Satisfries.
Yes, and?
They were fine. I mean, they weren't a revolution or anything. I got an order, and then I had a couple of them, and I gave the rest to the kids. But the interesting thing, they're crinkle cut, and Burger King fries are usually battered, and so they take a lot of the batter off, so they fry it without the batter. So it's still a French fry. It's still not good for you, but it's a lot less fat and calories than they normally are. But they will cost more. That's the difference.
No, if I went to French fries, the best French fry in the world, Thrashers.
I agree.
Ocean City, Maryland.
I cannot disagree with you.
Thrashers. They're also in Rehoboth. Or if you can't go to Ocean City or Rehoboth for Thrashers, then you go to any Five Guys.
Yes.
Five Guys are the best fries.
And they're everywhere now.
Yeah,
Five Guys have exploded. They're all over the country.
Started here in Washington area. So screw these Burger King fries. If I want a French fry, if I'm going to pig out, I'm a real French fry.
That's the real story. If you're going to get French fries, go get good ones. Believe it or not, Bill, some people online are not who they say they are.
No.
The Daily Caller took a look at the over 5 million Twitter followers of First Lady Michelle Obama, and it turns out of those over 5 million, nearly 2 million of them are fake. Well, the Daily Caller used a program called Status People, which takes a look at the activity of Twitter followers, and it says, this honestly says more about people on Twitter than it does about the First Lady. It's not like she created these fake followers. It's just that fake followers will tend to follow the biggest people on Twitter.
Beyonce
exactly.
And the Pope and all those people have fake followers.
Exactly. They all have a lot of fake followers.
So these are people who sign up, or they
either sign up and then follow, or they're just companies or bots or whatever will just sort of be created, because it doesn't take anything to create a Twitter account. You just create one.
Right.
So then they follow. And
I just want you all to know that every one of our Twitter followers are real
Every
people.
single one of them.
Real people.
I'm sure. And Penn State catches a break after record-breaking penalties that were laid down on the football program at Penn State after the Jerry Sandusky scandal. The NCAA has had a change of heart. While Sandusky is currently serving a 30 to 60-year prison sentence, Penn State was handed penalties that included a loss of scholarship money, and those are gradually going to be restored. The postseason ban, the $60 million fine, and the 13 years of vacated wins of Joe Paterno will remain in place. One NCAA official cited Penn State as being, quote, the role model for handling reform after a scandal, and that is the reason why they've had this change of heart.
Well, I'm glad the scholarships are coming back.
Sure. Yeah, look, I mean, they threw the book at him, and Penn State has sort of cleaned house there. So.
Yeah. All right, here's where we start this morning. I got to tell you, it was stunning. The contrast yesterday, two faces, if you will, on Obamacare, two faces on health care, two voices to talk to the American people and present the real story or their different sides of the story about what Obamacare is, what it means, how important it is, and what opportunities it presents for the American people. First of all, in New York, so we got the Democratic team and the Republican team, if you will, all right? In New York, the team, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and Barack Obama at the Global Initiative. I got to tell you, that is a damn good, strong team. And it really ties together because yesterday was the 24th. The 23rd of September was the 20th anniversary of the first speech on health care that Bill Clinton gave to the United States Congress. That's where it all started. So it really came together yesterday. What happened with health care, you remember Bill and Hillary tried it, and they failed. But they planted the seed, and President Obama reaped the harvest. And yesterday at the Clinton Global Initiative, they celebrated together, and Barack Obama went to Bill Clinton because he knows, the exchanges, again, we've talked, a week from yesterday, next Tuesday, October 1, is the first day of a 6-month period for signing people up for these health exchanges, which 30 million Americans are eligible for. And the president's got to get the word out to people. The more people know about Obamacare, the more they like it. But there's so much misinformation that's been put out there that the administration really does have a selling job to let, not to convince people it's good or bad, but to let people know what's available. And what is available is very, very good for them. Health insurance for the first time ever that they're able to afford at rates they can afford with really good basic coverage and a good choice of doctors. Great plans available, especially for young people and especially for people with pre-existing conditions who could never buy it before. Those people, that's all those Americans who don't get health care at their workplace. So the President Obama knows he needs some help. Who does he go to? He goes to Bill Clinton. He calls him the Secretary of, what's that phrase he uses? I love it. The Secretary, here it is, the Secretary of Explainin' Stuff.
Perfect.
That's what he calls him. And he enlisted him yesterday. And first of all, President Obama said, this has an economic aspect to it and a moral aspect to it.
This has everything to do with the economy, in addition to what I consider to be the moral imperative that a mom should not have to go bankrupt if her son or daughter gets sick.
It was sort of a question and answer, Bill Clinton posing questions to President Obama, and then Bill Clinton emphasized what really has to happen is young people. This is the opportunity for young people to get health care.
This only works, for example, if young people show up, and even if they buy the cheapest plan, then they claim their tax credit, so that it won't cost them much, $100 a month or so. We got to have them in the pools.
And President Clinton said, this is great for this country.
This is a big step forward for America. This will, over the next decade, not only make us healthier, but it will free up in the private sector, largely, funds that can then be reinvested in other areas of economic growth.
All right, so you got it? So that's the pro-Obamacare team.
Pretty strong arguments.
Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, and Barack Obama. Now let's shift to Washington, D.C. All day yesterday, the anti-Obamacare team, led by one guy, crazy Ted Cruz. Fruit bat crazy Ted Cruz from Texas, who gets up on the floor of the Senate yesterday, about 2:40 yesterday afternoon, and starts talking. And by the way, he is still talking as we are here this morning. But here's the thing about it. This is such a colossal waste of time, number one, because it's not a filibuster. He's calling it a filibuster, some people. It's not a filibuster because a filibuster is when you block a vote. The vote on Obamacare is going to happen today.
Like it or not.
On the
whether or not he's still talking.
It's going to happen today. It's already been scheduled. And it's been scheduled because his fellow Republicans abandoned him on this. And so he's just up there flapping his gums for nothing at all. So it's not a filibuster. The second thing, as I just pointed out, except for Mike Lee, all of his fellow Republicans have deserted Ted Cruz on this. So he's basically standing alone. And here's a guy, Ted Cruz, right, by the way, of all people, he's the last one who ought to be up there attacking Obamacare because in Texas, they've got the highest rate of uninsured people of all 50 states. And yet Ted Cruz gets up there yesterday and says, I'm going to stand here until I can stand no longer.
I intend to speak in opposition to Obamacare. I intend to speak in support of defunding Obamacare until I am no longer able to stand.
I'm going to stand here as long as I can. and I got good health care. So if I fall, somebody will take care of me.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what do when you talk for 24 hours? Well, you do anything you can to fill time, including reading your kids a bedtime story.
I do not like them, Sam I am. I do not like green eggs and ham. Would you like them here or there?
Dr. Seuss.
Man, I used to like
I would
this
not
book.
like them here or there. I would not like them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I am.
God,
Dr. Seuss was a great liberal, by the way, from La Jolla, California. Dr. Seuss, his family foundation ought to sue the ass out of Ted Cruz. I don't think he had Dr. Seuss's permission to use that. And then, by the way, he ties green eggs and ham, of course, to Obamacare.
They did not like Obamacare in a box with a fox, in a house, or with a mouse.
It's so silly.
God.
Stop it.
It is not working.
Yes, stop it. It is so bad. Ted Cruz, 866-55-PRESS. I got to tell you, man, I feel better about Obamacare today. I feel better about the chances we're going to not shut down the government. I feel better about the fact that people are going to see right through all this smokescreen about Obamacare. You tell me. Here are the two teams. You size them up. 866-55-PRESS. All right? Again, our team, Bill, Hillary, and Barack. Their team, Ted. Big ass, dumbass Ted from Texas. You tell me who's got the better team.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, we'll get back to today's program in just a couple of minutes here. Hope you are enjoying it. But first, I need your help. Need your help and need your support in keeping free speech going and keeping us on the air with all of you. You know, a lot of people ask, how do we put this show together every day? Well, we're at it all the time, looking at what's happening in the world. Peter Ogburn, Dan Henning, and I, we have a conference call at 5 o'clock every afternoon about what we're going to do the next morning. And then we huddle here about between 5 and 6 before we go on the air to put the whole show together. And then we have another meeting right after the show to start planning the next day's show. So we're always at it. You know, whatever the issues of the day are, whether it's all the unrest over maybe shutting down the government, whether it's the civil war among the Republican Party these days, or President Obama's efforts to have a peaceful solution to the problems in Syria and with Iran. We take a look at it all. We bring you the stories that we know that impact you and your family. We look for what you will want to talk about, what's really important to you. And we could do that nowhere else but right here on Free Speech TV, because Free Speech TV is totally independent, totally transparent, totally truthful. No corporate money, no political ads, no government agency money. And that's why we depend so much on you. So we ask you again to be as generous as you can by helping keep free speech on the air. You can make your pledge by going to the phone number 877-378-8669, or, of course, online to freespeech.org. And I'll tell you what, as a little incentive and a thank you for your help, if you were able to help us with $120 a year, that's just $10 a month, we'll give you a signed copy of my book about right-wing talk radio, Toxic Talk. You can help us with $240 a year. That's $20 a month. You get a copy of Toxic Talk and my book, How the Republicans Stole Religion. How about all the Republicans claiming they have a monopoly on faith, which they don't. In fact, they distort the Bible for their own purposes. And for $360 a year, $30 a month, if you can, these two paperbacks plus a copy of my latest book, The Obama Hate Machine, all about the Koch brothers. But again, we depend on you for your help to enable me and Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Packman and all the rest of the great lineup on Free Speech TV to be with you every day. So help us out, please, as much as you can. Be as generous as you can. Telephone number again is 877-378-8669, and you can reach us online at freespeech.org. It is a great honor and a pleasure to be with you every day, so keep us going. Help as much as you can. Thanks.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You bet it is. 26 minutes after the hour. You know, just again about Ted Cruz, of all people, the last one who should be leading the charge against Obamacare. Take a look at Texas again. They have the highest rate of uninsured people of all 50 states. They have the largest number of children with no health insurance of all 50 states. The highest rate of poor adults without health insurance. 1/3 of the Latino population in Texas, 3.3 million people, no health insurance. And I just saw this morning that Texas has 148,000 active duty military personnel in Texas, According to Bill Young, chairman of the House Defense Appropriations Committee, military personnel will accrue pay but will not be paid if there's a shutdown, and so until appropriations are made and the government gets back to work. All of those people will suffer if there's a shutdown and if there's no Obamacare. Ted Cruz doesn't care.
Remember, all throughout the show, by the way, we're taking your comments and chiming in at BP Show on Twitter. Our name there again, at BP Show. Jessica Ramsaran says, Ted Cruz is not the sharpest tool in the shed. Green eggs and ham is about trying something that might be good. Ted, you should read the book. Don Griffith says Ted Kennedy is rolling in his grave at what Ted Cruz is doing in the Senate chamber. And Kat says, Cruz care, he's a Canadian, so he's never had to worry.
Yeah, he probably has Canadian health care.
Right, sure.
Victor's calling from Malta, Illinois on WCPT. Hey, Victor, what do you say?
I say, hey, didn't he read that to the end of the book and understand that in the end he did like green eggs and ham?
I don't think he got that far.
I mean, hey, you read a book to get the message. The message is try it. You might like it.
I know, that is a message. We all know that because we've all read that book to our kids. And no, but you don't expect Ted Cruz to even understand, right?
Can't even understand Dr. Seuss.
No. Okay. We'll take more calls about Ted Cruz. Again, it's Ted Cruz versus Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and Hillary Clinton.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hi, friends. This is Bill Press on Free Speech TV. Can't tell you how proud I am to be part of the new lineup here on Free Speech TV. It's been around for a long time. It's a great, great independent source of good, liberal, progressive broadcasting every day. We start out the day, but then, of course, moving on to such great friends as Amy Goodman and Tom Hartman, David Packman. You won't find good news and good people like us anywhere else, and we depend on you to keep us on the air, so we can visit together every day, find out what's going on, and talk about it. So we need your help to stay on the air, and the number to call to help is 877-378-8669. Of course, you can also go online and contribute at freespeech.org. Help us raise the money necessary to keep this programming coming to your home every day and in 38 million other homes around the nation. Because more than ever in these days with so much corporate media, we need media that is independent, that is transparent, that is truthful. We need Free Speech TV. Now, to maybe encourage you to give as much as you can, we're offering some gifts to you, depending on your level of contribution. First, for those of you who give $120 a year, that's just $10 a month. We'll send you a copy of my book, Toxic Talk. Toxic Talk is all about talk radio, how talk radio is dominated by the right wing, how they got to be so powerful, and what liberals have to do to get some balance on the airwaves across the nation. And I expose some of the real lies told by many of the right-wing talk radio hosts. That's for $120 a year. For $240 a year, that's just $20 a month. We'll give you 2 books, Toxic Talk, as told you about, and this is my favorite book, the favorite book that I've written, How the Republicans Stole Religion. Yeah, what the Gospels really say and how the Republicans distort it, but how they get away with it. And for $360 a year, that's $30 a month, you'll get these 2 books, Toxic Talk, How the Republicans Stole Religion, and The Obama Hate Machine as well, which is my latest book, all about the Koch brothers and all the money that they spend just to try to bring down President Obama and to defeat all of his policies. That's why your help is so important. We are here on Free Speech TV, bringing you the truth every day, the news every day. Help us stay on the air by giving as much as you can. Thank you.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC. Or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Here we go, 34 minutes after the hour. It's a Wednesday morning, September 25. Ruby Cramer from Buzzfeed will join us in the next segment. I'll talk about the big day yesterday at the UN. We're talking about the big day on health care yesterday with Ted Cruz still talking some 16 or so hours after he started. His big talkathon, not a filibuster, talkathon, talk fest on the floor of the Senate. And meanwhile, telling how bad Obamacare is. Meanwhile, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama joining forces yesterday to talk how important it is, how good it is, and all the good thing that it's doing. Back to the Ted Cruz talkathon for just a second here, Peter, before we get to our online comments and your calls. What do they talk about for 16 hours? Well, he was saved. You have to keep talking. But if another senator comes in and asks a question, then you can yield to the question and they can have a little back and forth. But Cruz cannot leave the podium, and he has to still kind of be there.
Right.
So they had cooked up something with Mike Lee from Utah, who's the one senator, really, who's supporting him in all of this, although Marco Rubio and Rand Paul at least came in to show the flag. So Mike Lee and Ted Cruz get in this little exchange over gooseberries. And where do Chinese gooseberries come from?
Tell me, Senator Cruz, where do Chinese gooseberries come from?
God.
I yield for this question, and most would say China. But think again. Chinese gooseberries actually come from New Zealand. The way things are labeled are not always in fact.
All right. You can't tell. When it says Chinese gooseberries, you never know. Really, yeah.
I mean,
God. Yeah. This is
on the floor of the Senate.
The United States Senate.
God.
This is supposed to convince people, right, that believe me when I tell you that Obamacare is no good, right? And he gets up and he's talking about Chinese gooseberries.
Just so we're clear, in the Senate record yesterday was entered in a reading from Green Eggs and Ham,
yes,
and the definition of where gooseberries come from.
Yeah, we didn't get to the Panama hat yet.
We do have that, though.
We do have that coming up too. Comments? Yes. No? Yes. No. All right. Let's go to the calls. Ola, right? Is that right? Got to get it right? Ola from Atlanta, Georgia on Free Speech TV. Hi, Ola. Good morning.
I'm doing fine. Thank you. Great to speak to you.
Thank you.
Thanks for what you're doing. But I'm just shocked at how the mainstream media allows the right-wing politicians like Ted Cruz to spew such crazy hate and lies. I mean, it's basically like what they did when Hitler was reigning. They let these people just lie. They don't challenge them. But if someone from the left or Barack, they give him a hard time, and I just don't understand why they allow that.
Well, we talked about that a lot before. I don't know why a guy that like Ted Cruz gets so much TV time too, but I have noticed one thing. C-SPAN, of course, covers whatever's going on the floor of the Senate, but I haven't seen too much. I think most people are making fun of Ted Cruz. Certainly, the mainstream media has pointed out that this is not a filibuster, so they can call it a filibuster all they want, but it's not. But again, I come back to you got two teams on the field yesterday. All right, this is going to be the lineup for the next 6 months. Right, we're going to have Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and other members of the administration out there saying, this is why Obamacare is so good for you, so important, and why you've got to sign up. And on the other hand, you're going to have Ted Cruz running around the country saying, this is why it's so bad. Now, you tell me who has a better team here.
To get to her point, the Ted Cruz thing is interesting to watch. It's cringy, and he's way off base on a lot of these issues, but it is entertaining to watch someone make a total ass of himself right. on these issues. And, not that long ago when Rand Paul had his filibuster, which we were supportive of him doing, he brought to light some real issues. He pointed out that there are some flaws with the way that we use drones. What's Ted Cruz proven?
No, the Rand Paul was a real filibuster.
Right.
On a real issue, which was basically our invasion of privacy through drones and something that we all ought to be worried about. The Bernie Sanders talkathon, which was not really a filibuster, but like a talkathon, sort of like Ted Cruz, talking about government regulations, about Wall Street and unfettered Wall Street and all that. Very, very important, substantive stuff. This is just, the Ted Cruz thing is just a joke.
Yeah.
He really is making an ass of himself. And I think people see that. 866-55-PRESS, your comments. He's still talking. Kevin, out in Chicago on WCPT. Hey, Kevin, what do you say?
Hey, Bill, how you doing?
I'm
hey,
good,
the real irony here, think about it, and certainly the more tenured members of the Republican side will remember that the foundation of Obamacare is actually what they put forth in opposition to
yes.
Bill and Hillary's
Yes.
health care plan. So,
yes.
so here they're sitting there yesterday, watching Clinton talk about it and have to be looking at it. To me, it smacks of irony so much. And on top of it, the black guy is the guy that got it implemented. It just, it's like, guys like Cruz and, who 20 years ago were just some snot-nosed kid in Texas,
Yeah.
It's crazy, but you can't help but laugh at it because again, this, the foundation, it was Romneycare. It was proven that it worked. It actually, if everybody participates, it's a pretty good program.
No, the irony of ironies of ironies. There's so many aspects to it, but you're right. This whole individual mandate was the Republican conservative Heritage Foundation response to Hillary Care. They called it then, right? That's what they came up with. Mitt Romney adopted it, put it into Massachusetts, and everybody hailed it. Barack Obama picks it up and says, "Okay, how can we make this our health care plan more acceptable to conservatives? We'll use their idea." And once he puts it in his plan, they oppose their own idea, and they're still fighting it, right? Yeah.
It's great.
It is, Kevin. And by the way, you alluded to it too. The saner voices in the United States Senate have not really hesitated to say Bob Corker from Tennessee, Orrin Hatch from Utah, Chuck Grassley from Iowa, John McCain from Arizona, Lindsey Graham from South Carolina. They've all said Ted Cruz is nuts. This is crazy what he's doing. They want no part of it. So that's why Ted Cruz he's on a solo mission, which is not going to get him anywhere. There will be a vote today. The Senate will vote down. They vote to begin debate on this continuing resolution today. They will eventually vote down the House version, which defunds Obamacare, and then it's going to go back to the House, and we'll see whether Boehner is willing to shut down the government or not. But Ted Cruz, all of this is going to have zero effect on the end run. The government may shut down, but Obamacare will still remain. Jerry, let's see, that's in French Camp, Michigan, is that right? Yeah. Welcome, Jerry.
Hey, that's Mississippi.
Oh,
yes,
Mississippi.
Bill.
I'm sorry. I saw MI. I didn't know what it was.
Yes, this faux filibuster by Ted Cruz.
Faux filibuster. That's what we ought to call it, right?
The filibuster. Is nothing more than him playing to his base, trying to get his money for his 2016 presidential run.
You got it.
He could have accomplished this in his closet, and it had the same effect.
Yeah. No, this is exactly that's what he's doing. He's not talking to the American people. He's talking to his base, and we ought to recognize it for such. He definitely. By the way, I want to give Ted Cruz credit. Okay, I've dumped on him for the whole hour. Called him.
This would be nice.
Dumbass Texan, but which he is. But okay, here is what he has achieved something. He's only been there 9 months. 9 months. He is already the most hated member of the United States Senate by his fellow senators.
Well, that's something.
Now, when you achieve that in 9 months, you gotta be doing something wrong. He's doing everything wrong. Ted Cruz. I gotta tell you, I'll take our team, Bill and Hillary and Barack. I'll take our team over Ted Cruz any day. Ruby Cramer from Buzzfeed next.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hi, friends. This is Bill Press on Free Speech TV. Can't tell you how proud I am to be part of the new lineup here on Free Speech TV. It's been around for a long time. It's a great independent source of good, liberal, progressive broadcasting every day. We start out the day, but then, of course, moving on to such great friends as Amy Goodman and Tom Hartman, David Packman. You won't find good news like and good people like us anywhere else, and we depend on you to keep us on the air, so you can we can visit together every day, find out what's going on, and talk about it. So we need your help to stay on the air, and the number to call to help is 877-378-8669. Of course, you can also go online and contribute at freespeech.org. Help us raise the money necessary to keep this programming coming to your home every day and in 38 million other homes around the nation. Because more than ever in these days with so much corporate media, we need media that is independent, that is transparent, that is truthful. We need Free Speech TV. Now, to maybe encourage you to give as much as you can, we're offering some gifts to you, depending on your level of contribution. First, for those of you who give $120 a year, that's just $10 a month. We'll send you a copy of my book, Toxic Talk. Toxic Talk is all about talk radio, how talk radio is dominated by the right wing, how they got to be so powerful, and what liberals have to do to get some balance on the airwaves across the nation. And I expose some of the real lies told by many of the right-wing talk radio hosts. That's for $120 a year. For $240 a year, that's just $20 a month. We'll give you 2 books. Toxic Talk, as told you about. And this is my favorite book, the favorite book that I've written, How the Republicans Stole Religion. Yeah, what the Gospels really say and how the Republicans distort it, but how they get away with it. And for $360 a year, that's $30 a month, you'll get these 2 books, Toxic Talk, How the Republicans Stole Religion, and The Obama Hate Machine as well, which is my latest book, all about the Koch brothers and all the money that they spent just to try to bring down President Obama and to defeat all of his policies. That's why your help is so important. We are here on Free Speech TV, bringing you the truth every day, the news every day. Help us stay on the air by giving as much as you can. Thank you.
This is the Bill Press Show.
13 minutes before the top of the hour, the United Nations General Assembly meeting in New York this week. President Obama there on Monday and Tuesday with a speech to the General Assembly yesterday. But the big event everybody was expecting and waiting for never happened. Rosie Gray covers issues like this and was there for the United Nations for Buzzfeed, joining us on our news line this morning. Hi, Rosie. Good morning.
Good morning, Bill.
So what happened between this big anticipated meeting between President Obama and the new President Rouhani of Iran?
Well, what happened, according to the White House, is that the White House offered to, basically set up like a casual impromptu encounter between the two men at this, and it was likely to happen at this lunch that Ban Ki-moon hosted yesterday for heads of state.
Yes.
And the Iranians came back and said it's too complicated. So it didn't end up happening. And Rouhani ended up not even going to the lunch at all. But there was a lot of build up, and I think it's something that it's a little bit confusing actually, because the Iranians they've been making a lot of overtures. It seemed like it was something that they actually really wanted. So
did Rouhani snub President Obama? I mean, is it considered that way, or just considered that these things are too complicated to kind of do casually?
I think that the internal politics in Iran are too complicated for him right now to be able to do that. The hardliners are so at home for him, are so against nuclear compromise that, the idea of like a photograph of him shaking hands with the American president, the politics of it are probably just too tough for him at home.
Even a handshake. Even a handshake, right?
I mean, I guess. That seems to be the calculation that they've made.
And what about the president's? What was the president's message to the General Assembly when it came to Syria and to Iran?
Well, his message basically was. I mean, I didn't really see a lot of new stuff from the president.
Mm-hmm.
But he was making the same point about Syria, which is that like the threat of force is what has allowed us to get to this point with them. They're hoping the diplomatic solution works out, and basically that we need Russia and Iran to stop supporting Assad and to help us fix this. And then when it came to Iran, I was actually a little surprised. I thought that his tone was a little bit cooler on Iran than I expected it to be. But he did, he was saying what they've been saying for a while, which is that they are ready to be able to engage the Iranians, but that they expect a nuclear deal.
On the Middle East, the president expressed some hope, right, that negotiations now underway might lead to a peace settlement. Of course, we've heard about this for decades, right? Other presidents have tried and failed, but he seemed to recommit himself to trying to bring the parties together in the Middle East.
Are you talking about Israel-Palestine?
Yeah, right.
I don't know if that is really a project that Obama himself is fully committed to. I think that's sort of a John Kerry thing. And I think that's something that, and I don't want to downplay the accomplishment of getting the two parties back to the table, because that's the big thing in and of itself. But, I don't think anybody who's really watching this closely believes that this round is going to work out, especially since they've given it this time limit of 9 months or whatever for it to work out, and then if it doesn't work out, they're going to end these talks for now and then try again some future dates.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if this is something. I mean, obviously, both Obama and Kerry would like a deal between the Israelis and the Palestinians to be part of their legacy. I think that is something that John Kerry is more personally committed to as Secretary of State than Obama is as president.
And on the resolution for which will soon be in front of the Security Council, the president did talk about that, which would require Syria to hand over its chemical weapons. When will that resolution be in front of the security? When can we expect some action on that? And is it expected to pass?
I'm not sure about the timing exactly, although I think the idea would be that it would happen soon. And in terms of being expected to pass, the problem is that Russia and China have basically made it so the Security Council is a useless organ in terms of enforcing international laws.
Yeah, but this is Russia's idea, right? So aren't they going to help push this through?
Well, they want, so basically the Americans want the resolution, they want part of the resolution to include that the threat of force is on the table. Like, they want like a consequence if this doesn't happen, and the Russians don't want the same consequences as the Americans. So there's going to be a lot of negotiating over that, and a lot of there's going to be a lot of pushback from Russia.
But it hasn't been scheduled as yet.
Not that I'm aware of, but I could be wrong about that.
Okay. Rosie Gray, thank you so much for keeping your eye on things at the United Nations and bringing us up to date this morning. Appreciate it. Buzzfeed, buzzfeed.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right. Very excited in the next hour to have in studio with us Sister Simone Campbell, the head of Nuns on the Bus. Can't wait to hear her comments on the Pope's latest comments about the direction of the Catholic Church. We'll also be joined by Ginger Gibson from Politico, talking about the big gridlock in Congress these days and the ongoing talkathon by Ted Cruz. Peter.
Quick story, because I don't know if you knew this week is Banned Books Week. It's the American Library Association celebrates it, and what they do is they collect the most banned books around the country from libraries and schools, and then they encourage people to read them.
Good.
Yes, indeed. The number one most banned book in schools around the country is Captain Underpants.
What?
I'm not familiar with Captain Underpants.
I'm not either. Is it a children's book?
It's like a young adult series. There's a whole series of books featuring Captain Underpants. They also, rounding out the top three banned books.
Banned? Does he wear underpants?
I mean, it's called Captain Underpants. I can only imagine. There's a picture of him.
Does he take them off?
He's just a kid wearing pants and a cape. I mean, that's what you normally wear to work.
Hey, buy me one. I want to read it.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say? This is Bill Press here. We'll be back to today's broadcast with all of our great guests in just a moment here. But first, just a word about Free Speech TV. I started my nationally syndicated radio show in 2005, almost 8 years ago now. And I've also done, think about it, this is my fifth national television show on CNN. I was co-host of Crossfire. I was co-host of The Spin Room. On MSNBC, I was co-host of Buchanan and Press for several years. On Current TV, did a show called Full Court Press, and now the Bill Press Show on Free Speech TV. And I've got to tell you, in all that time, with all those different networks, all those different shows, I never felt as at home and as comfortable and as good about what I'm doing as I do right now on Free Speech TV. I'm so glad to be part of this great network that brings you people like Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Pakman. So proud to join that lineup. But, and this is the kind of media, the reason I feel so comfortable, because totally independent, totally free to talk about whatever you want to talk about. You get to get involved in the conversation. And that's the kind of broadcasting you'll find nowhere else. It's truly independent, truly transparent, truly truthful, speaking truth to power every day. And that's what we need in this country. But, of course, without any corporate money, without any political ads, without any government money, free speech depends on you to keep us going and to keep this great lineup coming to you every day. So we ask you, if you're already a supporter of free speech, to renew your sponsorship. If you're new to free speech like I am, then join us any way you can. Go to 877-378-8669 and send us whatever support you can. Be as generous as you can. Or you can go to freespeech.org. As a little incentive for joining us, here are a couple of things to consider. If you can give $120 a year, that's just $10 a month, you'll get a signed copy of my book, Toxic Talk, all about right-wing talk radio, who they are, how bad they are, and what the left has to do to get back into talk radio. For $240 a year, that's $20 a month. Get a copy of Toxic Talk and a copy of my favorite book that I wrote, How the Republicans Stole Religion. They think they have a monopoly on God, and they don't, because God was a liberal. We know that. And if you can do $360 a year, that's $30 a month. These two books, plus a copy of my latest book, The Obama Hate Machine, all about the Koch brothers and the billions of dollars that they spend to try to defeat anything that Barack Obama stands for. So we need your help. We ask for your help because we want to continue this great broadcasting. Again, you can join us by phone at 877-378-8669 and send your pledge, or go on freespeech.org. Be as generous as you can. We'll keep coming to you every day, and thank you.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
The United States Senate is on cruise control. Yeah. And it's been on Ted Cruz control all night long. Good morning, everybody. He's still talking. And we're keeping track of it all and what nonsense it is. Great to see you this morning on this Wednesday morning, September 25. The Bill Press Show coming out to you live on your local progressive talk radio station on Free Speech TV, which you can get on DirecTV or the Dish Network. And we're coming to you live also. You can stream the show on TawkrTV. Go to youtube.com/TawkrTV. Great to see you today. Boy, what a day. We got the big Clinton Global Initiative going on up in New York. The United Nations General Assembly is still meeting. President Obama back at the White House today after his speech to the General Assembly yesterday and his appearance with President Clinton at the Global Initiative yesterday. And then we have the House and the Senate. Senate's been here. The House coming back today, and the Senate will vote today on the continuing resolution from the House which would strip any funding from Obamacare. That part will be taken out of the Senate resolution. In the meantime, Ted Cruz is talking. But we've learned that the vote has been scheduled for today. It's going to happen today. So there's no way that Ted Cruz will be able to interrupt that vote. In other words, what he is doing is not a filibuster at all. It's a faux-buster, I guess you could say, or
filibuster.
Filibuster.
I saw some people calling it just a TED Talk.
A TED Talk.
The least impressive TED Talk ever.
A TED Talk or a Talkathon or a Talk Fest, who knows what it is, but it's not a filibuster. Here we go. We love to hear from you about what it's all about. 866-55-PRESS, our toll-free number. You can join us. Send us your comments on Twitter, too, at BP Show, and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Just heard there from Peter Ogburn, leader of the team this morning.
Yes, sir.
Dan Henning's got the week off. Alicia Cruz here has got the phones covered. And Cyprian Bolding's got the video cam covered, making us look good as possible on TawkrTV and on Free Speech TV. So while this talk, what do you do when you're talking for 18 hours, right? Unlike the Texas legislature, by the way, here you don't have to always. Remember when Wendy Davis was talking and she was interrupted and thrown off the floor because I forget now what tangent. She went off on a tangent. And they called a rule saying, no, the rules say everything you say has to pertain to the topic at hand.
Yeah.
That's not the case with the U.S. Senate. You could even read the phone book in the U.S. Senate as long as you occupy that podium. So overnight, Ted Cruz, among other things, he read Green Eggs and Ham out loud. He read a nighttime story to his daughters out loud. And he also got into this colloquy with Senator Mike Lee from Utah about things like Chinese gooseberries, but also Panama hats.
There's something called a Panama hat. Can you tell me what part of the world the Panama hat comes from?
Well, I would yield to that question and note that it could possibly be Panama. You might think if you call it a Panama hat that it would make sense that it'd be Panama, but nope, think again. Ecuador. Ecuador makes Panama hats. I don't know that anyone makes Ecuador hats.
I just don't like him. I don't like him.
Your tax dollars and mine are paying for keeping the lights on, keeping the mics going, so Ted Cruz can do nonsense like that. And what does it have to do with Obamacare? Nothing. So, as we talked in the last hour, we'll talk more during the show. You saw the two teams for and against Obamacare yesterday. For Obamacare, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama. Against Obamacare, Ted Cruz. Take your pick. I'll take my chances with Bill and Hill.
I like those
chances.
Barack.
Yeah. Hey, coming up, boy, lots going on. Reporters from Politico and the communications director for Emily's List will be here. Norm Ornstein from the American Enterprise Institute, who is the best voice on Congress around, the best analyst on what's happening in Congress and how we can fix it. And then in studio with us later this hour, Simone Campbell, Sister Simone Campbell, who is the head of Nuns on the Bus. And we'll get right to what's happening in the Congress as we speak. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Quick look at some other stories making news. Flying high in style, the British Airways A380 aircraft unveiled a new menu for flyers, first-class flyers going from London to L.A. It is a 5-course tasting menu designed by London's 5-star hotel, The Langham. It also includes a complimentary bar, but if you do eat here, you will get some of these dishes: seared scallops with pea puree, pork belly with lemongrass and peach, and a, quote, milk bar for dessert, all in first class.
Yeah, I don't care how good it is. It's still airline food.
It's still airline food. Exactly. Yep, exactly. Believe it or not, Bill, some people online aren't who they say they are. The Daily Caller took a look at the over 5 million Twitter followers of First Lady Michelle Obama, and it turns out of those, nearly 2 million of them are fake. The Daily Caller uses a program called Status People. It takes a look at the activity of Twitter users and says a lot more about Twitter overall than it does about the First Lady's account. Some of these are just hollow, empty followers.
I think that's true with anybody's.
Of course, anybody that's got millions of followers, yeah, absolutely. And dog shoots man is the new man bites dog. A Minnesota man was out hunting this past weekend when his dog accidentally shot him in the leg. A 19-year-old man, who is remaining anonymous for obvious reasons, was in a boat duck hunting when his dog jumped into the boat to tag along, and when he jumped in, he landed on the man's gun, which was unsecured with the safety off. The dog engaged the trigger and sent the man to the hospital, shot him in the leg. He's being treated for non-life-threatening injuries. Man's best friend, huh?
Is that guy's name Dick Cheney? All right. Yes, indeed. The House has been out. They come back today, be back by this evening, and the Senate in town already waiting for a big vote today on the continuing resolution. The version that came over from the House, of course, as we know, would defund Obamacare. Harry Reid has said that is dead on arrival. Meanwhile, Ted Cruz has taken to the floor of the Senate. He did so yesterday afternoon, and he is still at it. Ginger Gibson covers the Congress for Politico, good friend of our program, joining us on our news line this morning. Hey, Ginger, good to have you with us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So what does Ted Cruz hope to accomplish by this big talkathon of his?
In terms of real goals or accomplishments, he's got few. He's going to be unable to stop the continuing resolution bill when it heads to the floor today for a vote at noon. He will not be able to delay that. It doesn't have the votes. So in terms of that, he's not going to accomplish much. The goal appears to be to garner more public support. Hasn't really, however, been able to galvanize his own caucus. We saw in March when Rand Paul had a lengthy speech on the floor. He was able to draw out a lot of support from his caucus. Mitch McConnell, John Cornyn, a number of members came to the floor in support of him. Ted Lee hasn't gotten that same amount of support. And in terms of what the public reaction will be, we'll have to wait and see. That might be his best hope, is to sort of get his base really excited, although we already know they're pretty excited as it is.
Well, it's been reported this morning that Cruz actually negotiated the terms of this ahead of time with Harry Reid. So, okay, we'll let you talk as long as you agree that we go ahead with a vote. So, in fact, the whole thing is phony. It's like it's staged, isn't it?
Whether he negotiated it or not, the rules of the Senate alone would have stopped him at noon today. He can't go beyond that. He knew that walking onto the floor. There's been a lot of pushback from those of us that have been on Twitter writing about this or writing about it at all, that reporters aren't calling it a filibuster. That's because he can't actually filibuster anything, whereas the term filibuster was used quite a good deal to describe Rand Paul's speech. So he's stopping at noon, whether he's tired and his feet hurt or not. He's done.
Well, as we know, he didn't wear his boots for this speech, right? He went out and got some running shoes, some
black sneakers.
Black sneakers, right. So the vote today, then, at noon, is a procedural vote. It's a vote to proceed with the debate, correct?
Correct. So there's a lot of hurdles that Harry Reid has to overcome in order to get that piece of the Obamacare defund out. He's got to have 2 procedural votes that require a 60-vote margin. There's not a lot of doubt he's going to get those, particularly with Mitch McConnell and John Cornyn saying they will vote with the Democrats on that to allow debate to happen. It's referred to as cloture. It's sort of technical, it doesn't really change much. But what it does is allow them to eventually, maybe this weekend, maybe earlier, work amendments with a 50-vote margin so they can take those pieces of the defund effort out with only Democrats.
So when does the actual vote take place?
So these votes, these cloture votes, in order to not have real-life talking filibusters, which is why these rules are in place, allow for 30 hours of debate between votes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there has been some discussion already in the Senate that the Republicans would yield back some of that time, meaning they would say we don't need all 15 hours of our debate time to allow the vote to be moved up. If they follow all those 30 hours, it pushes them till Sunday. If the Republicans don't want to work this weekend, and as they're saying, they want to give the House more time to deal with the bill that gets sent back, they could speed that up. It could be as early as Thursday or Friday.
As early as Thursday or Friday, or as late as Sunday. And I saw some reports this morning that what Ted Cruz intends to do is to try to drag that out as long as possible. Can he do so?
He could. If he got up and objected to the yielding back of time, in other words, said he still wanted to use the remaining 15 hours of debate in that 30-hour debate window, he could make the process go a little longer. So he is capable of doing so by trying to push that Senate vote to the last minute.
All right. And then the House has to act, though, by September 30, correct?
Correct. So the House is coming back today. They were scheduled to be in recess for this week. They have canceled half of that recess. They return to 6:30 tonight. They tell us they're prepared to work as soon as a bill gets sent back. So they will have to act. And that's sort of the big question mark. We all know what's going to happen in the Senate. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the Senate will strip out those provisions. They will send the bill back to the House, likely much cleaner, maybe a shorter time period, maybe with other provisions, but they will send it back. We don't know what's going to happen in the House.
And so, again, I don't have my calendar in front of me, but the 30th is Monday, I believe, is it not?
It is Monday. They will have to act with relative speed.
They're going to have to act, so what are their options on Monday? Their option will be either approve the Senate plan or not, and if not, that means that we shut down the government, correct?
If they don't approve the Senate plan, and amend that plan again, there was some discussion in leadership yesterday that they could attach to this next round a bill that would a provision that would delay the individual mandate for a year. They could ping it back to the Senate. Now, there are some provisions to speed up at that point, particularly if Ted Cruz doesn't start objecting. So in theory, they could go back and forth with the Senate a couple of times more quickly. But at this point, we don't know what's going to happen with the House. John Boehner could say, sorry, caucus, I'm not doing what you want. We're going to pass the Senate bill with a bunch of Democrats. There's a lot of discussion as that is a possibility. But until they come back this week and they start looking at real options and talking to one another, we're not sure what exactly they will do.
Boy, I got to tell you, what a mess. We don't blame you for that, Ginger. You're just an observer. But
Ted Cruz is blaming me on the floor of the Senate right now, so it's okay.
Yeah, but the good news is, Ginger, nobody's paying any attention. Thank you so much, Ginger. Let's get back to work, and you can listen to all the rest of Ted Cruz from now till noon.
Reporters in Washington need coffee. Just remember that.
Yeah,
not
really.
Me.
Yeah,
not
you got it. All right. Talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
It's Politico, Politico.com, of course.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends, we'll get back to today's program in just a couple of minutes here. Hope you are enjoying it. But first, I need your help. Need your help and need your support in keeping free speech going and keeping us on the air with all of you. A lot of people ask, how do we put this show together every day? Well, we're at it all the time, looking at what's happening in the world. Peter Ogburn, Dan Henning, and I, we have a conference call at 5 o'clock every afternoon about what we're going to do the next morning. And then we huddle here about between 5 and 6 before we go on the air to put the whole show together. And then we have another meeting right after the show to start planning the next day's show. So we're always at it. Whatever the issues of the day are, whether it's all the unrest over maybe shutting down the government, whether it's the civil war among the Republican Party these days, or President Obama's efforts to have a peaceful solution to the problems in Syria and with Iran. We take a look at it all. We bring you the stories that we know that impact you and your family We look for what you will want to talk about, what's really important to you. And we could do that nowhere else but right here on Free Speech TV, because Free Speech TV is totally independent, totally transparent, totally truthful. No corporate money, no political ads, no government agency money. And that's why we depend so much on you. So we ask you again to be as generous as you can by helping keep free speech on the air. You can make your pledge by going to the phone number 877-378-8669, or, of course, online to freespeech.org. And I'll tell you what, as a little incentive and a thank you for your help, if you were able to help us with $120 a year, that's just $10 a month, we'll give you a signed copy of my book about right-wing talk radio, Toxic Talk. You can help us with $240 a year. That's $20 a month. You get a copy of Toxic Talk and my book, How the Republicans Stole Religion. How about all the Republicans claiming they have a monopoly on faith, which they don't. In fact, they distort the Bible for their own purposes. And for $360 a year, $30 a month, if you can, these two paperbacks plus a copy of my latest book, The Obama Hate Machine, all about the Koch brothers. But again, we depend on you for your help to enable me and Tom Hartman and Amy Goodman and David Packman and all the rest of the great lineup on Free Speech TV to be with you every day. So help us out, please, as much as you can. Be as generous as you can. Telephone number again is 877-378-8669, and you can reach us online at freespeech.org. It is a great honor and a pleasure to be with you every day, so keep us going. Help as much as you can. Thanks. Sister Simone Campbell from Nuns on the Bus, leader of Nuns on the Bus, rolling in here on the bus in the next segment here in studio with us. And as we have told you, Ted Cruz is still at it, the crazy senator from Texas, with not a filibuster, just a talk fest. He is still at the podium, been there since 2:41 yesterday afternoon. He must and has agreed to stop talking by noon, and the vote that was already pre-scheduled will go forward. So, in effect, Ted Cruz is accomplishing nothing at all except building up his base among right-wingers and Tea Partiers for a run for president in 2016. He said when he started, he was going to stand there until he dropped.
I intend to speak in opposition to Obamacare. I intend to speak in support of defunding Obamacare until I am no longer able to stand.
I'm going to stand here, but don't worry, I got good health care because I'm a U.S. Senator. I don't have to worry about a damn thing. So what do you do when you've got all that time to fill? And the Senate rules say as long as you're talking and as long as you're at the podium, you can talk about anything. Well, it's sort of bedtime for the girls back in Texas, so maybe I'll read them one of their favorite stories.
I do not like them, Sam I am. I do not like green eggs and ham. Would you like them here or there? I would not like them here or there. I would not like them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I am.
So
I'm glad he took a beloved children's classic and turned it into something unlistenable.
Turn it into something unlistenable and turn it into something political. But here's the deal. Number one, Dr. Seuss was a big liberal. He would be, I'm sure, rolling in his grave today. Number two, if you read the end of the story, the guy ends up liking green eggs and ham, right? So Ted Cruz, the message is, Obamacare, you may not think you like it, but try it. You'll love it.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hi, friends. This is Bill Press on Free Speech TV. Can't tell you how proud I am to be part of the new lineup here on Free Speech TV. It's been around for a long time. It's a great, great independent source of good, liberal, progressive broadcasting every day. We start out the day, but then, of course, moving on to such great friends as Amy Goodman and Tom Hartman, David Pakman. You won't find good news and good people like us anywhere else, and we depend on you to keep us on the air, so we can visit together every day, find out what's going on, and talk about it. So we need your help to stay on the air, and the number to call to help is 877-378-8669. Of course, you can also go online and contribute at freespeech.org. Help us raise the money necessary to keep this programming coming to your home every day and in 38 million other homes around the nation. Because more than ever in these days with so much corporate media, we need media that is independent, that is transparent, that is truthful. We need Free Speech TV. Now, to maybe encourage you to give as much as you can, we're offering some gifts to you, depending on your level of contribution. First, for those of you who give $120 a year, that's just $10 a month. We'll send you a copy of my book, Toxic Talk. Toxic Talk is all about talk radio, how talk radio is dominated by the right wing, how they got to be so powerful, and what liberals have to do to get some balance on the airwaves across the nation. And I expose some of the real lies told by many of the right-wing talk radio hosts. That's for $120 a year. For $240 a year, that's just $20 a month. We'll give you 2 books. Toxic Talk, as told you about. And this is my favorite book, the favorite book that I've written, How the Republicans Stole Religion. Yeah, what the Gospels really say and how the Republicans distort it, but how they get away with it. And for $360 a year, that's $30 a month, you'll get these 2 books, Toxic Talk, How the Republicans Stole Religion, and The Obama Hate Machine as well, which is my latest book, all about the Koch brothers and all the money that they spent just to try to bring down President Obama and to defeat all of his policies. That's why your help is so important. We are here on Free Speech TV, bringing you the truth every day, the news every day. Help us stay on the air by giving as much as you can. Thank you.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC. Or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Like politics? Then like The Bill Press Show on Facebook. This is The Bill Press Show.
33 minutes after the hour, Wednesday morning, September 25. It is The Bill Press Show. We're coming to you live on your local progressive talk radio station all across this great land of ours, coast to coast. Also on Free Speech TV and on TawkrTV. That's our video stream, youtube.com/Tawker, TAWKR TV. Brought to you today by the National Education Association, the good men and women of the NEA under President Dennis Van Rokel, creating great public schools for every student in America. You bet, and you can find out more about their good work at NEA.org. And speaking of good work, nobody's doing better work than the Nuns on the Bus, headed by Sister Simone Campbell, a great friend who is in studio with us again this morning. Sister, it's nice to see you.
Oh, it's great to see you, Bill.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
I am so excited, as you must be, about our new Pope Francis.
Isn't it fabulous? It's wonderful.
And what he said last week, that in an interview with a Jesuit publication, that the church has kind of marginalized itself, church leaders, by talking too much about abortion and birth control and same-sex marriage or gay rights, whatever, and not enough time focusing on poverty. That's your message.
It is our message, and it's what we got criticized for a year and a half ago, but it's his message now. And it's so refreshing to have his perspective that is so centered and grounded in reality of the struggles of ordinary people. It's fabulous.
Yeah, and he didn't change the basic teachings of the church on those issues, right? He just said, let's get...
He said balance. We need balance, and the overly focusing on very narrow concerns puts us out of balance. He actually referred to it as, creates a house of cards that can collapse. So it is a refreshing opening of the full message, which is what we've been trying to be about. So it's great.
And as you pointed out, just what was it, a year and a half ago, that's the first time we met and you came in, the Vatican had scolded America's nuns for doing just the opposite. They said basically, you're talking too much about poverty, sisters. Stop talking about poverty. Start talking about what really matters. Start talking about birth control, right?
Well, yes, or abortion or gay marriage.
Yeah.
And the great irony that now, maybe we were right. But they'll never say that. They'll never say that.
Well, so has this investigation of the American nuns disappeared? Have they dropped it?
No, they haven't. They've continued with it. And actually, I think what's going on is that really when you look at the global reality, we're really what I call a small soccer ball in a very large game of politics. And Pope Francis is trying to reform the administration in Rome.
Yeah.
It hasn't been reformed since the 1500s. So it's about time, I would say. But it's a huge challenge for him. So he's focused on that. If that reform can happen, we'll be fine.
Well, so I think it's going to be hard for them to pursue this case against you while the top man, the top dog, is saying just the opposite. But I do have to ask you, how, in my thinking, I don't know about you, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, I saw what the Pope said as sort of a direct blast at the American bishops who we never hear from, it seems, the American Conference of Bishops,
Right,
Catholic bishops,
right.
except on the issues of birth control and abortion. And they even opposed Obamacare because it would allow
They
women...
feared it. They feared the abortion piece, and then they continue to fight. They still have litigation against the administration because of contraceptives.
Yeah. So, given their stance, how are they reacting? How are the bishops and the cardinals reacting to what the Pope said?
I have no idea, but I can imagine that it has to be a little bit uncomfortable for them. Though I have to say that just even having a new pope makes a difference for them, because we did this second bus trip on immigration reform.
Yes, yeah.
Well, at 5 different events, we had bishops come. And that was significantly different from last year, where we couldn't even hold an event on parish property in any of the states we went to. So this time there is a bit of change in the wind. I think the part that really makes me sad is that it took Pope Francis to legitimate our concern for people in poverty, and that they sort of go with the wind and not stand up for what Jesus said in the gospel, but they'd rather play the politics. But I don't know. That makes me sad. But
the first bus tour was really in opposition to the Ryan budget, which would have cut every program helping the poor.
Right.
And I thought of you last week when the latest numbers came out from the Census Bureau, that 46.5 million Americans, 15% of the population, still live in poverty. It's actually gone up. More people in poverty in 2012 than in 2011. And it does get back to priorities, right? And it's just not been a high priority. Now we're talking about this budget in front of this Congress.
Oh, this budget is as bad, if not worse, than the Ryan budget, partially because of the issues of sequester and that they've built in all of these automatic cuts. And then they say that's not enough. It is a scandal that in the richest nation on earth, we cannot address the needs of people who live in poverty. And what people don't understand, take the food stamp fight that's going on.
Right.
Whoa. What people don't know is 69% of the families receiving food stamps have workers in their family. They are getting paid employment. So if you're still working,
they have a job.
They have a job.
Yeah.
And this idea, this fantasy land of some Republicans that, what we just have to do is encourage people to get a job. They don't understand that if you work for minimum wage full time, you only make $15,000 a year.
You're still living in poverty.
You are in poverty. And food stamps is a supplement to your wages. It's not a handout to these people. What it is justice that people should eat when they're working hard.
But let me tell you what to me was even more outrageous is some of the Republicans in the House caucus who voted and led the charge to cut $40 billion out of food stamps. On the floor, they were citing the Gospels to justify their opposition to helping the poor, mainly, Matthew 26, the poor you shall always have with you.
And therefore, we ought to keep everybody down.
Yeah, or create even more poor.
Exactly. But what they totally miss, it's not that we ought to be making more people poor, but what we need to do is the way to conversion is having our hearts open to the needs of others. And in our democracy, the way we solve these problems is the king doesn't come around and give out money. What we do is we come together and we try to solve it in a democratic manner so that we all contribute. And government, this problem is huge. And the big issue is going to be wages, and we're going to have the minimum wage fight because this is ridiculous. This is keeping people down. And we have to fix immigration. We have to deal with the minimum wage, increase it, and index it.
The other, absolutely, and you mentioned immigration. I was going, so your focus, you haven't given up. You're still fighting on the budget
Oh, my
issues.
glory, yes.
But now we've added immigration to it. Why is that such an important issue, again, for people of faith?
Well, it's critical because in the gospel, it says we welcome everyone. That Jesus is always reaching out to those that are marginalized, those that are left out. I mean, we've got the story of the Good Samaritan. What a lot of people don't realize is that it was the Samaritan, the stranger, that was an immigrant in Israel, is the one who responds with generosity. And the Samaritan woman at the well, Jesus is out asking them for help. What we know is that when we collaborate, when we're together, when everyone has a way to commit to making society we're all better for it. And in our society right now, there's a huge amount of exploitation of the undocumented. We've got to fix that. That's wrong. It's wrong for our moral fiber as a nation. So that needs to be fixed. And then we have to fix how people get into the country in the future, because we have huge economic needs and a law that does not meet what we need. So those two issues are big pressures. It's a faith issue. It's a democracy issue. It's a economic issue. Everything's coming together for people to say, yes, do it.
You know, related to that, Ted Cruz, as we speak, right? Senator Cruz is on the Senate is under Cruz control, they call it. He's still blabbing against Obamacare, and this is a senator who represents Texas.
Right.
Texas has more children without health insurance than any other state. They have the highest rate of just adults, people without health insurance than any other state, and 1/3 of the Latino population in Texas, 3.3 million people, no health insurance. Yeah,
it's shocking. It's shocking, and that this is the
this
richest.
guy ought to be out there as the champion of Obamacare, right?
Well, one would think. The problem is that it seems to me these folks are so disconnected from the reality of other people's lives, and they have this sense that they have this privileged position of wealth and opportunity, and so in fear they're just going to keep everybody else out. And so they don't want to know the stories of ordinary people. They don't want to be engaged or have their hearts broken by the truth of how hard the American people work and how limited is access to the basic essentials of life. One of the things in Catholic social teaching, which I just love, even Pope Benedict said this, and I didn't always agree with him, that was for sure, but he said that you have to have justice before you have charity. Ted Cruz seems to think that you don't need either. But you've got to have justice, and justice means the capacity to live in dignity. And that's the responsibility of governments, to make sure all of its residents can live in dignity.
Sister Simone Campbell, the head of the Nuns on the Bus, as you saw, executive director of Network. And the way people can find out more about your work and help out is networklobby.org, right?
That's right. That's right.
Networklobby.org. Sister stays with us. Your comments, your questions, 866-55-PRESS. We'll talk more about immigration and poverty and what we can do about it when we come back on the other side.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hi, friends. This is Bill Press on Free Speech TV. Can't tell you how proud I am to be part of the new lineup here on Free Speech TV. It's been around for a long time. It's a great, great independent source of good, liberal, progressive broadcasting every day. We start out the day, but then, of course, moving on to such great friends as Amy Goodman and Tom Hartman, David Packman. You won't find good news and good people like us anywhere else, and we depend on you to keep us on the air, so we can visit together every day, find out what's going on, and talk about it. So we need your help to stay on the air, and the number to call to help is 877-378-8669. Of course, you can also go online and contribute at freespeech.org. Help us raise the money necessary to keep this programming coming to your home every day and in 38 million other homes around the nation. Because more than ever in these days with so much corporate media, we need media that is independent, that is transparent, that is truthful. We need Free Speech TV. Now, to maybe encourage you to give as much as you can, we're offering some gifts to you, depending on your level of contribution. First, for those of you who give $120 a year, that's just $10 a month. We'll send you a copy of my book, Toxic Talk. Toxic Talk is all about talk radio, how talk radio is dominated by the right wing, how they got to be so powerful, and what liberals have to do to get some balance on the airwaves across the nation. And I expose some of the real lies told by many of the right-wing talk radio hosts. That's for $120 a year. For $240 a year, that's just $20 a month. We'll give you 2 books, Toxic Talk, as told you about. And this is my favorite book, the favorite book that I've written, How the Republicans Stole Religion. Yeah, what the Gospels really say and how the Republicans distort it, but how they get away with it. And for $360 a year, that's $30 a month, you'll get these two books, Toxic Talk, How the Republicans Stole Religion, and The Obama Hate Machine as well, which is my latest book, all about the Koch brothers and all the money that they spend just to try to bring down President Obama and to defeat all of his policies. That's why your help is so important. We are here on Free Speech TV, bringing you the truth every day, the news every day. Help us stay on the air by giving as much as you can. Thank you.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
It's 12 minutes before the top of the hour. We all remember the Nuns on the bus. They electrified this nation with their first tour going around the country in it was 9 states, wasn't it,
9
sisters?
states.
I remember.
Yeah.
Yep. Raising their concerns about the Ryan budget, and it's a horrific impact on programs, any programs helping the poor in this country. They continue to raise concerns about the budget and have also now embraced the issue of immigration reform as an important moral imperative under the leadership of Sister Simone Campbell, who is in our studio this morning. Sister, we were talking about poverty and the numbers that came out last week. The other thing that struck me was the finding by the Census Bureau that the average American family today, is making less money today than they were making in 1989.
Yes.
Meanwhile, the people at the very, very, very top are doing better than ever. So this huge gap is something I know that you've been talking about too and focusing on.
We've been focusing on it for the last couple of years and did a whole education program called Mind the Gap, where just to raise the awareness, because we don't talk about these things.
Just to let people know
what's happening. Well, as I go around the country talking to folks, I discovered that everybody thinks they're middle class. But then when you look at the actual numbers, a lot of folks are really surprised to find out they're in the bottom half. Do you know it's more than half of the jobs in the United States pay $36,000 a year or less. I mean, those are struggling wages.
Yeah,
those are struggling wages. And that's half of the jobs. So what we've done at Network is we have this program called Mind the Gap, so where we educate about it. But the new program that we're adding is an online learning on Mend the Gap. Policies that we can do to change this direction. Because what people don't realize is between 1949 and 1979, everybody's income went up 100%. Everybody benefited. But starting in 1980 to 2010, this huge disparity has just accelerated, and we need to address it. It's wrong. It's the wrong way forward.
So when people say that we live in two Americas, they're really right, aren't they? I mean,
well, when you look at it, yes, because the very wealthy live in gated communities. They send their kids to private schools. They have private police force. They don't even fly. I mean, I joke around and say, well, they don't know the glories of Southwest Airlines, and they've got their private jets. So they're so disconnected, which is part of the piece with Ted Cruz, is that they're so disconnected from the reality of most Americans, and then they start saying things like Governor Romney said in the last election, 47% of the nation is takers. And the fact is they just don't know the reality of the struggle. And so what we have to do is to bring people together to let reality break through this myth. And I think the myth reinforces the justification for this extreme wealth. It's not working. It's the wrong way forward. It's bad for our nation. It's bad for democracy.
I want to go back to Pope for just a second here. It's his public statements, as we started on so many of the issues, and his tone has been so refreshingly different, but also his lifestyle. right?
Yes.
I mean, just those little things like not wearing the fancy red shoes. Or,
I know. Just wearing his old brown loafers. I can totally relate on that one. But the other piece is that he's not living in the papal apartments, that he's living in the hostel, and that he eats in the cafeteria with everybody else, and he calls people on his cell phone. And, I mean, isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
A human being in this role, not so segregated from the reality of ordinary life.
he likes people. He likes being around people, right?
Yes. He says he needs community in order to be faithful. So it's an amazing change.
And I love the fact that he just got this Renault, this 20-year-old Renault or 25-year-old, whatever, that he uses to drive around the grounds. Said he got rid of the Mercedes-Benz limo and everything. Yeah. So
he's setting a great example, but I think it's an example that is about our faith, but it's also about what we need globally to be connected with each other, because so much of the fear and terror that goes around in our world is because we're disconnected and frightened. And for me, faith is about breaking through the fear.
Yeah. So remember, the Pope is saying now we have to focus more on poverty and the real message of the gospel. We heard that first from Nuns on the Bus and Sister Simone Campbell. She's converted the Pope.
Ooh, I love it.
Yeah, right.
He'd fit on the bus. It would be good on the bus.
He would be great on the bus. Pope on the Bus. Network is the name of the organization. She's the executive director. They need your help, need your support, and in their programs, and also maybe you can send them a little money too. Networklobby.org. Networklobby.org. Thank you, sister, for all your great work.
Oh, thank you, Bill.
All right, see you again soon. Safe travels.
Thank you.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, here we go. Ready for hour number 3? Well, we're going to lose you on Free Speech TV, but you can continue to watch the program. Just go online to youtube.com/TawkrTV, Talker, TAWKR TV. And coming up in the next hour, 2 really great guests. Jess McIntosh is Communications Director for Emily's List. Tell us about important races around the country, women candidates. Norm Ornstein from the American Enterprise Institute. Nobody knows Congress better than Norm Ornstein.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Or you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
is the Bill Press Show.
All right, here we go. In the next hour, Jess McIntosh from Emily's List, Communications Director, in studio with us, as well as Norm Ornstein from the American Enterprise Institute, who's written a great book about Congress called It's Worse Than It Looks. President Obama yesterday, speech to the General Assembly, various one-on-one meetings, and a big luncheon yesterday at the UN, and then he went over to the Clinton Global Initiative, talking with President Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton about health care, and then a DNC fundraiser last night, where, by the way, he endorsed Bill de Blasio for mayor of New York, and congratulated Bill de Blasio's son Dante on his afro.
Go with the fro.
Said that his afro looked a lot better than the one that Barack Obama, had when he was about the same age. After all of that, he's back at the White House with a pretty quiet day today. He gets a daily briefing at 11 o'clock this morning, then meets with senior advisors. This afternoon, he has a conference call with mayors and county officials and state legislators about the Affordable Care Act. He will meet with Treasury Secretary Jack Lew late this afternoon. And Jay Carney will hold the first press briefing of the week at 1 o'clock in the Brady briefing room. And I will be there, of course, and be tweeting from there and then tell you all about it. Tomorrow we'll be back. Jess McIntosh from Emily's List.
This is the Bill Press Show. Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
The United States Senate on cruise control. Yeah, that dingbat, fruit bat, crazy Ted Cruz is still talking as we speak, accomplishing nothing except building up his Twitter followers for a 2016 presidential run. Good morning, everybody. Here we go. It is the Bill Press Show on a Wednesday, September 25. Great to have you with us and good to be there on your local progressive talk radio station. Good to be there. Also, online, our video stream at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring enough about the issues to start off with the Bill Press Show every morning. And, of course, it's a two-way street. We'll tell you what's going on. You tell us what it all means to you. Give us a call anytime on any issue at 866-55-PRESS. You don't have to agree. You can disagree. I'm used to that. What the hell? Doing it for a long time. You can also send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow. A lot of important races around the country today. I saw that Ted Turner the other day said that they should ban men from holding political office for the next 100 years so that women can take over and get everything straight. That's not exactly the position of Emily's List, but close. Jess McIntosh is... I always think of you as the communications director.
Yep, that's me. You got me.
That's your title?
Yes.
Okay. This says spokesperson, but
yeah,
I like
either way.
Communications director for Emily's List.
Yes.
Good to see you. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Can't wait to find out the latest and the races you're involved in and what's going on. And you know the members of our team, Peter Ogburn.
Hi there.
Who is sort of filling several roles this week, because Dan Henning has the week off. Alicia Cruz has the phones covered, and Cyprian Bolding keeping us looking good on that video stream with the video cam. So yesterday, this unrelated to anything Ted Cruz has talked about. You know, I'm a Californian, and I'm very proud of California, and California shows the way on many issues.
It's true. Sometimes
good, sometimes bad.
Yes.
But here's a good one that Jerry Brown signed into legislation yesterday, which, as I understand it, would say that, you know, there's so much stuff out there online, right, and particularly with the social media and all these comments and everything, that there's a new program which enables you to go in and wipe out and erase anything that you've said or said about you.
If you put it out on Facebook or Twitter or it said, you could basically just wipe the slate clean.
Start with a whole new clean slate. Here's Governor Brown.
Kids who've been humiliated or bullied online now have a remedy. They can go to the provider of online materials, audio, video, and say, take it down. And now there's a process to make that possible.
That's amazing, right? How do they do that?
I don't entirely know, and I'm fascinated to see how this works because, like in the last Batman movie, there was this whole thing where Catwoman wanted to get this chip that would erase her whole past, and they were like, that's implausible. It doesn't exist. In a comic book movie, they couldn't even make it exist. And yet in California, it's now the law. It's crazy.
Well, first of all, it presumes, which I think is correct, that everything online is always on, all right, and never disappears.
Right.
Up until now, right? So it's always out there. So if people have said really mean and ugly things about you, it's there somewhere, right?
I just feel bad for kids who have to grow up in this era. When I was in high school and middle school, it was a passing comment in the hallway, and then it was gone off into the ether, and now it lives forever.
Yeah. The game has changed in terms of being a kid.
And we've seen some of the tragic results of that, right? This little 12-year-old girl who committed suicide.
For sure, and that's just the end of the spectrum. The middle of the spectrum is just kids who do I mean, if I had written the stuff that I wrote on my binders in high school, if I had instead written that on the internet, that would be just profoundly embarrassing today.
Yeah, right. But the idea then that you can go in and say, oh man, I really just...
Brave New World.
Brave New World, yeah, exactly. And just wipe the slate clean. California starts there. Jess McIntosh with us this first half hour. Then we'll be joined by Norm Ornstein from the American Enterprise Institute to talk about this mess in Congress. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
A couple of other stories making news. Bill, are you ready for Satis Fries? In an effort to cater to healthy fast food eater,
I don't know what it is.
Burger King yesterday launched a new product. They are French fries, and they're calling them Satis Fries. They contain 30% less fat, 20% less calories than the standard French fries, which also happen to be 40% less fat than McDonald's fries. They are crinkle cut, which are different than the standard order. They don't put the batter mix. The Burger King batters their French fries. Normally, they don't batter their fries, and so that's why they are, quote, healthier for you. They do cost more, about 20 to 30 cents more per serving, but if you do get them with a kid's meal, it's free to go to the Satis Fries.
All right, now the secret here, Jess, is that Peter went to a Burger King yesterday.
I went there yesterday to try them.
I can't believe it.
And?
I had the kids. I got a thing. I had a couple, and I gave the rest to the kids. If you're gonna go and get French fries, right? Go somewhere else. Go if you're gonna just eat French fries. Go get good French fries. Go to Five Guys or something like that.
No.
That's the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I feel the same way. I mean, I've been off French fries for a couple of years, but if I know where to get the good ones.
Right.
Yeah. The best in the world, Thrasher's French Fries, Ocean City, Maryland.
Sure, yeah.
And the best absolutely in the world, other than that, Five Guys.
Yeah, Five Guys is really solid.
Five Guys are really good.
You're going to go junk. That's sad.
Exactly.
You're going to go junk.
Yes.
Go all out and get the good ones. Yeah. And Penn State catches a break after record-breaking penalties were laid down on the football program after the Jerry Sandusky scandal. The NCAA has had a change of heart. Sandusky continues to serve his 30 to 60-year prison sentence, and Penn State was handed penalties that included a loss of scholarship money. Those are now going to be restored. Their postseason ban, a $60 million fine, and 13 years of vacated wins of Joe Paterno will remain in place. One NCAA official cited Penn State as being the, quote, role model for handling reform after a scandal as the reason for their change of heart. So they're now going to start getting some scholarship money freed up for college football players.
That's good. I think Penn State has suffered enough.
I think they handled it as well as they could have post-Sandusky. And yeah,
Paterno's dead.
Yeah, exactly. And one big menu change coming to Chipotle, the burrito slinging chain, has now made it official. Their beans are now going to be all meatless. They used to have black beans, which were vegetarian, and their pinto beans were made with bacon. They are now slowly incorporated baconless beans to all of their Chipotle stores. So now vegans, vegetarians, it's safe to eat Chipotle beans.
I'm not in favor of this.
I mean, I liked that they had a bacon option.
Yes.
If you wanted vegetarian, you could get black beans. If you wanted delicious beans, you could get the ones with bacon.
But they didn't tell you that they had meat in them. I remember having a vegetarian friend figure out
there
that
was
the
an
pinto
issue,
beans
yeah.
were meat beans, and that was obviously why they were so good.
Yes, exactly.
Why they're so good. Over here we are. We're off on this food binge here.
Bacon is sort of the gateway meat, right? If you get a vegetarian, give them bacon.
And the work of Emily's is like, but my new discovery. You and I haven't talked about this yet, Peter.
Hit me.
Is the burrito bowl.
Yeah.
The burrito bowl is
That's solid.
Really solid.
If you
Really
get a
great.
burrito at Chipotle, you might as well eat a Big Mac. I mean, that tortilla and
Or
all that
three.
stuff, or three. Yeah, I mean, it's horrible
But
for
the
you.
burrito bowl.
You go bowl.
It may not be that good for you, but it feels
It's
good.
better. It's better than a burrito, that's for sure.
And it's great, anyhow. All right. So there we are.
This
Food
hour
aside.
brought to you by Chipotle.
Yes.
Just kidding.
Jess McIntosh from Emily's List. So Ted Turner at this Earth and Climate Summit in New York City said, men should be barred from political office. They could do everything else, be president of universities, business leaders, but they just couldn't serve in any elected position for 100 years. Did you put him up to that?
That's novel. It's an interesting idea. I think it's worthy of discussion. No, Emily's List supports Democratic women for office. We don't support a ban on men in office. We think that the two should serve side by side. And we're going to try to get to parity by electing fabulous women and not necessarily barring the guys from office. I think we can make the case, frankly, to the voters that it's time to let more women into leadership roles.
Amen to that. And the more the better.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, I think so.
And by the way, we have more women serving now in the Senate
We
than
have
ever
historic
before,
numbers.
right?
We are at 20 women in the Senate. That's 16 Democrats and 4 Republicans. We have never had that. But again, that's just 20%. It's great to be proud of a historic number, but if that historic number is 20%, we clearly have a long way to go.
How are we doing in the House?
We're at about 18% in the House. It's higher than it's been before, but again, it's not nearly enough. We're
Democrats and Republicans?
It's considerably more Democrats than Republicans. Republicans have been having a really hard time lately with the rise of the Tea Party over the last couple of election cycles, electing women, recruiting and then electing them. In 2010, I think it was probably the Sarah Palin factor, frankly. They had a record number of Republican women run for office, but fewer than a third of them made it through their primaries. Republicans just have a tough time voting for women.
Well, they have a tough time voting for women. And also, why is it when you think of Republican women, Sarah Palin,
Michelle Bachmann, right,
Marsha Blackburn, Christine O'Donnell, blanking on her name in Nevada, who ran against Harry Reid. But I mean,
Sharon Engel, right?
Sharon Engel. I mean, wackos.
Well, that was what happened in 2010. The women who made it, that third of women, less than a third of women who made it through their Republican primaries were so far to the right, Christine O'Donnell, Sharon Engel, that they weren't going to win. And I think you saw at the same time Olympia Snow and Kay Bailey Hutchison, these Republican women who had been the more moderate voices of their party, just don't have room in that space anymore, and they had to step down. They had no interest in serving in today's Republican Senate. So this is a bigger problem for getting women into political office, which is that we are never going to reach 50% if just the Democratic caucus is carrying their weight. We're pretty close to, we're getting to 50. Well, we will be at 50% within the Democratic caucus within, a few election cycles. Emily's List is working really hard to make sure that happens, but that'll still mean we're at 25 to 35% total, depending on how well the Democrats did that year, and that's not fair for having parity of women in office.
If you look at a primary, where an open primary, let's say, where there are any number of candidates, but only one woman running, would you always pick the woman over any man?
In a Democratic primary, if I knew nothing else about the voters, if I knew nothing else about the candidates, yes, I probably would. I think it is. Isn't
it possible that one of the men might be a better candidate or better even on the issues?
Absolutely it is. I think that it is time that we put a real premium on actually having women in those leadership positions. So it's not just about being good on a particular issue. It is about having that diversity of perspective. There are a lot of fabulous progressive men. I've worked for a lot of fabulous progressive men. I have been thrilled to do that. But we need more women at the table. Plain and simple. We need more women who have taken care of families, kids, and parents, who have fought their way to, equality in the workplace, who have gone through schooling as a woman, who have, been a part of society as a woman. brings you with a different perspective. And I think that it's mission critical for our government to do its job that we have that perspective represented. So
Emily's List is the one who brought this message starting early on, and they've just done a great job, and have really changed American politics.
We have a long way to go, but I'm proud of how far we've come.
For change American politics for the better. Now, you really shook things up a month or so ago when you had a Madam President forum.
Yes.
We talked about that.
Yes.
Out in Iowa. You've got another one coming up. So again, let's be honest. This is just doing the groundwork for the Hillary for President campaign.
Look, we are hopeful that she will run. We will certainly be supportive of her if she does. There is nobody, male or female, who energizes the Democratic Party and who appeals to independents and moderates like she does. So I think she's the right choice for the country. I hope she makes that choice. And we want, as Emily's List, to do everything we can to help that. But the Madam President campaign needs to be bigger than one woman, one cycle. Should Hillary choose not to run, we want to make sure that the short list of women who are every bit as qualified as the guys who are regularly mentioned, we want to make sure that they're out there. Women like Senator Amy Klobuchar, like Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, Elizabeth Warren, Claire McCaskill and Jean Shaheen, Janet Napolitano, Kathleen Sebelius. These are women whose names ought to be on that White House shortlist, just like we hear Martin O'Malley and Andrew Cuomo. And then should Hillary decide to run, we want to make sure that there's an opportunity for her successor to also be a woman. We need to make sure that women are part of the presidential conversation going forward. They're always polled, they're always talked about, they're always speculated on. Every time Amy Klobuchar goes to Iowa, I want to hear about it.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, you know who else should be on that list, but sadly she is not, is Jennifer Granholm, because she was born in Canada.
Absolutely. Well, so was Ted Cruz, but,
I know. But she didn't have an American mother. It's just freaking stupid that Jennifer Granholm is not
It's sad.
On that list.
It's sad. But she is joining us in Manchester, New Hampshire this Friday at our Madam President Town Hall.
So the next Madam President Town Hall is in New Hampshire this Friday, 2 days from now. I will find out more about that from Jess McIntosh here. Your comments on some of the women candidates you know about. I want to hear more about the ones you're supporting this year when we come back, too. Your comments, your questions for Emily's List, Jess McIntosh, 866-55-PRESS.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour now here, Norm Ornstein from the American Enterprise Institute. It's Worse Than It Looks is his book about Congress, and boy, is that true. Right now, Jess McIntosh in studio with us, communications director for Emily's List, from maybe 20 years ago by Ellen Malcolm. Is it?
28.
20, yeah.
Yep. 28 years,
28 years
yes.
ago, wow. Under the sort of an acronym for Early Money is Like Yeast, Emily.
It makes the dough rise.
It does make the dough rise. So this Madam President Forum,
yes.
Manchester, New Hampshire, on Friday. Who will be the leading women there?
We're really excited because we have women who have been executive leaders. So we are talking about breaking that final glass ceiling, and we have women who have been governors to do it. So Jennifer Granholm, who is just one of my favorite people in progressive politics, she'll be there. Senator Jean Shaheen, who is, of course, the first woman to be elected both governor and senator from a state in New Hampshire, will also be there.
Great person.
Emily's List President Stephanie Shriak will be there to bring sort of an operative perspective as to how we're going to finally put a woman in the White House, what needs to happen in that campaign. And then Jamal Simmons. We're really excited. This is the first time that we've been joined by a man at one of our Madam President town hall forums.
Oh,
our buddy.
So
you couldn't do better than Jamal. He's a frequent guest on the show.
Yeah, we're very excited to have him.
What women candidates are you supporting now? What are the main races?
What's really exciting is that we have women running in states that are traditionally ruby red states. Emily's List doesn't traditionally field candidates in these states, but we have women running in Kentucky and in Georgia. Natalie Tennant just announced in West Virginia against Shelley Moore Capito. These are, and we have real chances in all of those states for two reasons. One, the biographies of the women running are just fantastic. I mean, Michelle Nunn who's running in Georgia, is Sam Nunn's daughter, runs the Points of Light Foundation, which is the George H.W. Bush affiliated charity. And the field of Republicans that is lining up to challenge her, each one sort of makes Todd Akin look like a centrist.
And we have to stop you right there. I hate to do it, but go to emilyslist.org and find out about all these important women, these great women running, and how you can help them. And thank you, Jess, for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
This is the Bill Press Show. Like politics? Then like The Bill Press Show on Facebook. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go, 33 minutes after the hour now. We're back on The Bill Press Show, coming to you live, coast to coast, on your local progressive talk radio station and streaming online at TawkrTV. That's youtube.com/TawkrTV. You know how to spell Talker by now. TAWKR-TV. Isn't that how everybody spells it? Coming to you live, coast to coast, and brought to you today by the American Federation of Teachers. Good men and women of the AFT under President Randy Weinberger, making a difference every day, for sure. And you can find out more about their good work at aft.org. As we speak, Ted Cruz is still at the podium in the United States Senate on the talkathon against Obamacare. And then the Senate is going to wrestle its way maybe to a vote on this back to the House. Can they get anything done before September 30? If not, the government may shut down. What a mess this Congress is. Nobody knows that better than our guest, Norm Ornstein, who has written the best book ever, I think, about the United States Congress and why it's not working any better than it is. The book, It's Even Worse Than It Looks. Now out in paperback just this week, right, Norm?
Just this week with an expanded edition.
Oh.
We have a new foreword sort of describing what happened when the book came out, and an afterword that brings it up to date, which is particularly depressing. I kick myself now for not retitling the paperback. It's even worse than it was.
Yeah, right. Or it's getting worse and worse and worse by the day, which it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's gotten worse since you wrote this book.
The next book may be Run for Your Lives, is the trajectory of where we're going. And it's a little bit of a surprise in a sense, Bill, because at least some of the motivation for the obstruction of the first 4 years of the Obama administration was reflected in that famous statement repeated many times by Mitch McConnell, my number one goal is to make Obama a one-term president. Well, then he wins re-election. He can't run again. And afterwards I said, okay, well, if his number one goal now is to make Barack Obama a two-term president, mission accomplished. So maybe it's time to govern. And you would have imagined that there would be an instinct or at least an impulse to get some things done before we head into the next cycle. It was right back to demonization and obstruction. And I think what's happened now is that a small group, Ted Cruz being the leader among them, egged on by Rush Limbaugh, Mark Levin, some of the Fox News people, now run the Republican Party. And the leaders, even if they wanted to do something else, and Boehner clearly would like to, are powerless.
And I want to point out that you say this as a congressional scholar, I guess I could call you, from the American Enterprise Institute. You do not say this as a leader of the Democratic National Committee, which you're not and never have been.
No, I'm not a partisan. And in previous years and decades, my longtime colleague and writing partner, Tom Mann, and I, levied blame where it belonged. And I wouldn't say that it's still 100% on one party. There are no angels here. It's not the nature of American politics. But the tilt now is pretty close to 90-10 from what it was. And I would say one other thing that's important, Bill, which is I don't want to see the demise of the Republican Party. This system needs to be healthy to strong, active, and vigorous parties.
Absolutely.
And let's face it, it's not going to be a liberal or a moderate party. But we don't have a conservative party now. We have a radical party. And it is a radical party, particularly in the sense that it's willing to break crockery, ruin institutions, undermine in many ways the fabric of the country to achieve revolutionary goals.
Now, so how can you explain this right now as we're talking here on the radio and on our video stream? Ted Cruz is speaking from the floor of the Senate, saying we have to defund Obamacare and we're willing to shut the government down if we don't. The Wall Street Journal, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the Business Roundtable, Republican Senators Orrin Hatch, Bob Corker, Saxby Chambliss, Richard Burr, you name them, have all said this is crazy. And yet Ted Cruz, the one man, is like running the show. Mitch McConnell has said this is bad. Ted Cornyn has said we shouldn't be doing this. How can Ted Cruz get away with this?
There are a couple of things that are important to keep in mind. One is that we're in a very populist age. And the fact is the Republican rank and file, the most activist wing especially, have little more use for their leaders, as it were, than they do for Democrats or even for the president. So Cruz is speaking to an audience that resonates to his message. A second part of this is...
They love the fact that he's challenging Mitch McConnell and all the rest,
when
right?
he gets right in the face of establishment Republicans and basically says, I don't care what you think. They are perfectly happy with that. The second point is the nature of the Senate is such that if you're hitting a crunch point, you're close to that point, any individual senator can gum up the works if he or she wants. And that's happened with lots of people in the past of every political persuasion. Rarely do you see it happen where you're playing with fire the way we are now. And the third thing to keep in mind is that from Ted Cruz's perspective, if you look at this just from a position of naked self-interest, if you're willing to piss off major figures within your own party, and you become David Frum, a former colleague of mine and a very smart guy, had I think a spot-on column on this the other day. What Cruz wants is to become the heir to the throne of conservatives. That was Robert Taft in the 1940s and 1950s, replaced by Barry Goldwater, and then by Ronald Reagan, very briefly by Newt Gingrich. And frankly, there has not been a leader of that wing of the party ever since. Cruz, in a very short period of time, is in a position to take that title, and that could catapult him to a Republican presidential nomination. If you're one of two candidates, anything can happen, presumably. And even if you don't win, you are the leader. Jim DeMint is vying for that title. I think Cruz has just shot right past him on the hit parade chart.
Yeah. In fact, Ted Cruz is doing Jim DeMint's dirty work, if you will, right?
And I got to believe, though, that Jim DeMint is not real happy that all of a sudden the superstar now is Ted Cruz.
So the rules of the Senate, you could see, would enable a person like a Ted Cruz, as you say, who's willing to piss off everybody to do what he wants to do. That would enable that in the Senate. In the House, where things have been a little more democratic, John Boehner says to his caucus, we should not walk this plank of shutting down the government over Obamacare, and yet 60, 50 members of his caucus say, oh, no, we don't agree with you on that. And Boehner caves. I mean, it could be different in the House.
It could be different in the House. What's going to be interesting is that given the Senate's timetable and the way these things work, they are going to pass a continuing resolution to keep the government funded probably on Sunday. Monday is the deadline. The House will have...
The Senate won't act until Sunday.
More than likely, the Senate won't act until Sunday. Remember, you've got this filibuster. Once he stops, they can vote, do a cloture vote, but then there's 30 hours of debate that follows from that, and there are other obstacles in the way. So maybe Saturday night, maybe Sunday, the House gets it. And they're going to have 24 to 36 hours. There's at least one report out this morning saying that House leaders are considering not just taking the Senate one as it is, but immediately sending it back to the House with a new provision that would simply delay Obamacare for a year. Now, if that happens, then the government shuts down. Maybe for a day or two, the Senate will send it back, except that, let's say that it comes back to the Senate, and Cruz filibusters that. We may have a shutdown for several days and before we get all of this resolved. What it shows is that Boehner is a waif among forces. He is a prisoner of his own caucus. And while there are 40 or 50 maybe who are in the super lunatic category, there are another 100 who are scared to death of those people and intimidated by them and afraid to do anything that might provoke a primary challenge. And looming out there, lurking out there, is Heritage Action and the Club for Growth. And you're talking about the nightmare for most of them of a primary challenge that is well-financed from the get-go. So there's no control over this process. Now, I think the worst part of it, though, is what Boehner has tried to do to fend off the rabid Rottweilers in his caucus is to basically say, hey, look, we'll play this game for a while with shutting down the government, but the real game is going to be on the debt ceiling.
On the debt ceiling.
So
Yep.
you're starting to play games with default of the United States, and the consequences of that economically are dramatically more severe than a shutdown. And I don't want to understate the impact of a shutdown. We already have an economy that's really sluggish, primarily because of the sequester cuts and the decline in government employment. Those are what are driving a higher unemployment rate and a sluggish economy. Shut down the government, the current employees don't get paid, contractors don't get paid, and they aren't likely to get their money back. Tourism is going to take a big hit because the national parks will close and there may be disruptions in air traffic and the like. So that's bad, but it's a flesh wound. Default is hitting the carotid artery.
So the games may seem silly, but the stakes are really high. Nobody's got a better perspective on it than Norm Ornstein from the American Enterprise Institute. His book is an absolute must-read, now out in paperback. It's even worse than it looks. We have a link up on our website. You can certainly get it from Amazon or your local bookstore. Norm, when we come back, I want to ask you about how we can possibly work our way out of this mess. We'll be back on The Bill Press Show.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show. is the Bill Press Show.
12 minutes before the top of the hour here on this Wednesday morning, September 25, sometime around noon today, the Senate will break the faux filibuster now underway by Senator Ted Cruz and begin their debate, or vote to begin debate on the continuing resolution. Norm Ornstein has been like a hawkeye over Congress for I don't know how many years. His latest book is written with Thomas Mann from Brookings Institute. It's even worse than it looks, now out in paperback. So Norm, I mentioned during the break I saw Mike McCurry, former press secretary under Bill Clinton, last night, and we were talking about this, and Mike brought this back to reapportionment and the way these districts are drawn today, which have made it possible for the Tea Parties or the radicals, the extremists you call them, to get so many seats. That's going to be hard to change, isn't it?
It is hard to change, and one of the more depressing elements of it is that even if you could wave a magic wand and do an independent redistricting, we would still have a big problem because we really have, as a country, sorted ourselves out geographically into areas surrounded by like-minded people. And we have the fact that Democrats tend to be concentrated very heavily in urban areas. And so Democratic districts tend to be 80% districts, Republican districts 60, 65%. They're still safe as could be in the general election. But there's now a tilt that favors Republicans in the House of Representatives more generally. But of course, what's happened is that it all comes down to the primaries. It's become even more tilted. 90-some% of the districts that House Republicans have were carried by Mitt Romney. And, you know, that's not exactly a sweeping victory for Romney where he won seats that Republicans wouldn't otherwise have won. These are core. So they're not going to lose most of those seats. And if it's a primary challenge, and then you throw in the corrosive impact of the post-Citizens United political money world, and the Club for Growth and other entities out there willing to throw money in and willing to tilt the system even more to the right. And you've got a really bad phenomenon out there, and it's not going away soon.
So is there any fix?
There are things that we could do. The biggest problem, Bill, I think, is it's not a structural solution that's going to take us out of this. It's a cultural problem. This is not just partisan polarization or ideological differences. It's tribalism. And it's something that's provoked by tribal media. It happened with Bill Clinton. He was demonized, and even more with Barack Obama because we have the added factor of race thrown in. But it's, you know, as we define it in the book, tribalism means if you're for it, I'm against it, even if I was for it yesterday. And how do you bridge those gaps? You've got to change the culture a little bit. But in terms of what we could do otherwise, one, we need to find ways to broaden the electorate because it is a still relatively small group of fringe ideologues who dominate this process. Yeah. And open primaries, as we have in California now, but with preference voting, would make a big difference. You know, if I could, I would move to mandatory attendance at the polls, as the Australians do, with a small fine if you don't show up. We've got to make voting easier in a whole host of ways. I strongly favor weekend voting. I helped create whytuesday.org, trying to move elections to the weekend, combating voter suppression in a host of ways. And inside, we have to try and figure out ways to return to the regular order. And obviously, we need to do something more than we have with the filibuster.
And we need some people, don't we, like a Bob Dole and or a Tom Daschle or Tip O'Neill or even a Denny Hastert who were there to solve problems, right?
Yeah. And, one of the other cautionary notes as we look at redistricting, look at Mitch McConnell and John Cornyn, for that matter, the two Republican leaders in the Senate. Now, these are not victims of redistricting, but they're both scared to death of primary challenges. McConnell already has that Tea Party challenge. And because of that, McConnell is absent without leave when it comes to trying to figure out a way to get out of this mess with the debt limit, for example. So, it's a bigger problem now, and once again, a cultural problem. And, with social media, you've got all these people out in the country who get all their information from, if you look at the Rush Limbaughs and Mark Levins of the world, and then look at conservative talk radio in local areas in the South, it makes them look like moderates, and this is where people get their information, and then they get emails that just reinforce things that are simply not true.
The book, It's Even Worse Than It Looks, absolutely must read if you care about this country and care
Must
about
buy.
this country. Must buy. Thank you. Yes, yes. And you can do so. Link on our website, Amazon.com, anywhere you can get it, your local bookstore. Norm Ornstein, good work. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bill. Always a pleasure.
All right. I'll be back with a quick parting shot.
This is the Bill Press Show. The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Yeah, Texas used to be called the Lone Star State, and no longer. Now it's called the Lone Nut State. And, of course, that lone nut is none other than Texas Senator Ted Cruz, with typical Texas swagger on the floor of the Senate. He's been there since yesterday afternoon, but it's not a real filibuster, as we know. The vote on Obamacare is already scheduled for noon today, so he's not blocking any vote. He's not really filibustering. He's just doing a big talk-a-thon. But it's also obvious that Ted Cruz doesn't know anything about health care and doesn't care, not even in Texas. Of all the 50 states today, get this, Texas has the highest rate of uninsured people, the largest number of kids without health care, the largest number of poor adults without health care, and 1/3 of all Latinos in Texas, 3.3 million people, are without health care. Ted Cruz should not be fighting Obamacare. Ted Cruz should be the champion of Obamacare. Hey, folks, have a great Wednesday. See you back here again tomorrow morning. You bet.